How many dogs and cats per year roughly are adopted and brought in?
Roughly about 2,500 animals get adopted out.
Holy
Yeah,
cow.
each year. Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah, we are just under our 30,000 animals being adopted out.
Welcome back to the Talk Midland podcast. My name is Logan Richetti with Modern Realty. Today I have Jesse Fletcher, the executive director of the Humane Society of Midland County.
Got it.
Did I get it right? Mm-hmm. All right, cool.
Got it.
So recently I was in the building with Lincoln, who is the official mascot this year, which is the result of too many drinks at a fundraiser and bidding on that.
Mission accomplished.
Thanks a lot, Erica Pena, for putting on the Ties and Tails Gala at the Country Club this year. We had a great time, and that's where we get involved every year in this organization. So I wanted to talk to you more about everything that you do and the mission that you have over there and everything in between.
Yeah. So I am new to the organization. I am the executive director. I'm actually the first ever executive director. I started back in February of 23 and then was promoted to executive director in November of 23. So just a short, 10 months later. And it's been a whirlwind. It's been fun and exciting and crazy and chaotic all at the same time. But our mission is to just promote animal welfare. It's basically we want to get animals, cats and dogs, into happy, healthy homes. And we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that that's taken care of.
When I was in there the other day, it was quite an operation. You have a lot of people working there and volunteers, I assume. Mm-hmm. And there's several dogs and several cats. Mm-hmm. What is the process of how does the business operate? How does it function? So obviously, I assume that people or cats and dogs are brought in.
Yes, yeah. We either have animals that get dropped off that are strays that are just kind of missing, wandering the streets. We also have some animals that come in that are surrendered where they might no longer be able to be taken care of. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it could be unfortunate situations where someone passed away and they didn't have a succession plan for the pet. So it all just varies, but mostly we just need to get these animals into better situations, and we're kind of that middle ground. We make sure that the animal gets taken out of whatever their situation is and that we get them into better places.
All right, so when a dog gets surrendered or a cat gets surrendered, they come in, there's some kind of intake process?
Yes, we ask tons of questions. We want to make sure that we understand as much as we possibly can about that animal. And sometimes we just don't know. Sometimes if it comes in as a stray, we have no clue. You know, we at least know it's a cat, it's a dog, it's a boy, it's a girl. And then there are times that it comes with an owner that we can at least ask some questions. But we try to get as much information as we possibly can on the animals to help us be able to then place it into those homes.
So then once the animal is brought in and checked out, do you do any kind of spaying or neutering or any of those things?
All of it, yeah. So we have a plan for us where every animal is spayed and neutered. It's just part of our business policy. Every animal that we get in gets spayed and neutered.
Okay, and then one of the things I noticed that was very interesting was each pet has a name and they have a description, and your Facebook page is very strong. And
we have an amazing Facebook page.
It's, I was doing some research for this conversation, and I went through the Facebook page just to see how this was going and how it was working. And there was a dog that we liked that we saw in there, and we were just looking into that dog a little bit. But they all have a name. They all have a description of what their characteristics are in terms of how they function best with kids, without kids, older people, newer people, with other pets, without other pets. You really do a lot of research and a lot of describing of the personalities of these pets, which is very helpful, I think, for people considering adoption, because it helps them to line up the personality profile with the unique situation of the people thinking about making the adoption.
Yeah, exactly that. We try to provide as much information as we can. And if we don't know that information, we try to vet that dog or that cat too. So if it comes in and we have no clue who it is, what it is, we then, we'll take that dog and put it next to a cat to see, can this dog be by a cat? Can it be by kids? Is it good next to men? Mm-hmm. So we try to get as much of the vetting questions and as much of the vetting conversation, you would say, with these animals as we can, so that we can then make sure that we get them into happy, healthy homes and the right homes.
So we several years ago adopted a dog from this organization, and she was clearly traumatized by a man at some point. She never, throughout her whole life, really never warmed to any man very much. She always stayed close to her mom. But you can tell that that's happened to a lot of pets, and it's very sad. Can a dog, especially, can they come back from that kind of trauma if they're readopted?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We try to set them up for success. It's going to take some time though. It's not just they, come out of the shelter and they're going to be a completely changed animal. It's going to take time and training and patience. Patience is the biggest thing. Is we have no clue what that animal went through. It could be the best situation and then they just come into the shelter and it gets put into another best situation. But then it's sometimes horrible situations where that dog or cat may have been near death situation. And then we get them into the shelter. We take care of them. We properly, get them medications to take care of them. And then we make sure to get them into a home.
Well, it seems like some of those pets really have a lot of love left to give. And when they are loved and they are treated well, they open up. You see that happen?
Absolutely. From kittens all the way to senior cats and puppies to senior dogs.
So if somebody wants to adopt a pet and they want to go through, what does that process look like from start to finish?
Yeah, so we encourage everyone to come into our shelter. You can absolutely check on our website or on our social media to look at the animals as well. But we encourage you to bring in your family. We encourage you to bring in your animals at the home too, because that helps out when trying to figure out if this is going to be a good fit for this animal. But we encourage you to come in, check out the animals, check on them a couple times too, because you never know. If it's a dog, take the dog out for a walk, sit out by the picnic table, try to have as much you in the meet and greet as possible. And if it's a good fit, we then will have you fill out the appropriate paperwork. It's just basically an application process. And then we're going to ask you a ton of questions. What is your home life like? Do you have other pets? Do you have kids? How often are your kids in school, out of school, sports? Are you gone all the time? Do you travel a lot? So we're going to ask all of these questions because it makes a big difference in what the success of that animal being in that home can be.
Okay, so you go through and so it sounds like you actually get a chance to interact with the pet at the Humane Society before making a commitment to taking the pet home. And you can do that as many times as you need to feel comfortable yourself with that part of the process.
Yep. The only problem with that is, sometimes if it's a popular dog, the longer you wait, the chances that it could get adopted out, which is a good thing to have. Sure. So it all just varies on the process itself and the animal itself. But yeah, we absolutely encourage that.
So what happens if you make a decision to start an adoption? You go through the paperwork, your application is approved, you get the animal, you take it home, but then for whatever reason, it's just not fitting in well, it's not adjusting well.
We will always take our animals back.
How often does that happen?
It just varies on the animal itself. We try to keep that very low from a percentage standpoint. I'm not exactly sure based on the percentage, but I would say that it is fairly low. We have a very large success rate of getting animals adopted out into the homes. But I think because of the vetting questions that we have, I think that is our success story in making sure that we get the right fit.
What kind of dogs are the toughest ones to achieve adoptions for, and why?
All of them, to be honest with you. I think it's just a matter of the household and the fit of the animal itself. We do get in a lot of pit mixes, so we get a lot of pitty mixes. We sometimes will get some shepherd mixes. It just varies, but breeding mills and, breeding hoarding situations is very much a thing. So, I understand that breeders want to do what they do. That's their income and that's what they, do to make sure that they have their way of living. But when they then can't get those animals sold, they then come to us. So we sometimes will get 100% purebred, beautiful dogs. And then sometimes we get some, just mix of goodness. We'll just call it that.
So pit bulls obviously are a little bit tougher because they can be a little bit more aggressive. So that limits a little bit of, the appeal to somebody with young kids maybe.
Well, perceptions.
Is that wrong? I mean, is that not true?
I think that is true regarding the perception. Okay. I think that, it is very true that the perception is that if it's a pit of some sort, that it's probably mean or aggressive or it's going to bite or it's going to do something. And that honestly could be for any dog, any situation. So it all just varies. We've got some beautiful, amazing, loving pit mixes right now,
Yeah.
and who I just snuggled my face into their face yesterday. So, it all just varies on the dog, the breed, and also just the situation that it came from.
So would it be fair to say that you really need to keep an open mind when you're looking at these dogs and maybe not say no to a certain breed before you've even met the dog because they might be a really nice and sweet temperament?
Absolutely.
Okay, I learned that.
Yeah.
Thanks for teaching me
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
How many employees are there?
Right now, I think we have about 18.
Wow.
A majority of them are part-time. Some of them just do a couple hours a week. And then we rely solely on the heart of our organization is our volunteers. We would be absolutely lost if we didn't have the volunteers, if we didn't have our board of directors. So much of what our volunteers do, it is literally the heart of our organization. They are dog walkers, they're cat cuddlers, but they're also the laundry, the dishes, the cleaning, the things that, no one really likes to do, but they come in and they do it because they love the animals. They love our organization. So they will do anything and everything. They do lawn care, literally everything to just take care of our organization.
Do you need more volunteers?
Yes, absolutely.
What kind of person listening to this show might think of themselves as somebody who qualifies to be a volunteer? Is it somebody that just has some extra time on their hands, that loves pets but doesn't have any anymore? Or what does that look like?
Yeah, so basically anyone over 16 can come without a parent to come to the shelter. And, the easy stuff are the dog walking and the cat cuddling. And like I said, we have the, not so pleasant stuff. No one really loves doing laundry and dishes, but because they love our organization, they do. So we've got some easy stuff to some hard stuff. Regarding the type of volunteer that we're looking for a 10-minute walker, and we're looking for someone who can spend hours with us. Some of our lifelong dedicated volunteers we have sometimes are spending 8 hours a day with us. And then we have others who come every single day to just do their 10-minute walk. So it all just varies. We're trying to encourage more groups to come in, more walking groups, more, we have businesses who are doing like community service hours through their workplace community service. So we're trying to get in as many people as we can, because the more that those animals get out of the cages and out of the shelter walls and the barking and the noise, the better it is for the animals.
Okay, so if you have a small business or you work at a small business in Midland, maybe you could talk to your manager or whoever that's in charge of that kind of stuff and connect with Jesse to spend an afternoon walking dogs out at the Humane Society.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Or cuddling with cats.
Yeah. See, and it even sounds cute when you say it that way, like a cat cuddler.
I'm in for that. Bring Modern Realty down there and cuddle some cats.
See?
For sure.
Works.
So 18 paid employees and then a bunch of volunteers, is that right?
Yes.
That's a pretty big organization.
Yeah, it is. It's a big beast. It's an undertaking, that's for sure.
How many dogs and cats per year roughly are adopted and brought in?
Roughly about 2,500 animals get adopted out.
Holy cow.
Yeah, each year. Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah, we are just under our 30,000 animals being adopted out.
Good for you.
Thank you.
So almost over 200 animals a month travel through that and they find houses. Wow,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing when you think of it, and then it's crazy at the same time when you think of it too. Like the amount of it is nuts, but that just means that we need to do more to educate our community too on the importance of spaying and neutering, the importance of the vaccinations and microchipping and things like that. So there's still a lot of work to be done.
Well, I guess I didn't think of it that way because that means 200 are coming in every month.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like it's a good and bad balance.
Interesting. Okay. So what is the corporate structure of an organization like that? Obviously, you are the head now. You're the executive director, which is a role that they developed only recently.
Yes.
And there's a board of directors as well?
Yeah. So it's always been a board of directors as the governing board. And then at the time when we became a Humane Society back in 2011, it was just only a few staff and a lot of volunteers. It then developed and created even more of a need for the community. And then when I started back in 2023 as the director of development and fundraising and really looked at the structure of the organization and what we should and shouldn't be doing more of, that's when I think the board then realized what needed to be done for the success of the organization, making sure that we were doing things on the up and up, making sure that we were compliant, making sure that just as a whole, that we were a thriving nonprofit organization and really focusing on our mission. And that's when the board then decided to take a step back from being a working board, meaning a working volunteer board, and that they then asked for me to come into the executive director role. And it's been since November.
Okay, so you come in, you take over as executive director, empowered by the board, and your job is to organize the structure of the organization so that it can be as efficient and productive as possible. And that's a tough job. Where does the funding for the Humane Society come from, by and large?
I was hoping you were going to bring up funding. So we are basically donation-based funding. We do not receive any funding from the government, from the state, anything on that line. So our dollars coming in are from our generous donors, from the adoptions itself. We do have a vet on staff, so our surgical house next door, so that helps bring in some income that way. And then we rely solely on fundraisers, such as the Ties and Tails and anything grant opportunities we are bringing in.
So you're responsible for requesting and achieving grants? Is that hard to do?
Yes. I think the hard part is we're animals. So there are tons of grant opportunities out there that allow for human-based. If you're a nonprofit that focus on your human needs, there are tons of opportunities out there. There are limited opportunities when it comes to animals. There are a lot of shelters out there, so a lot of competing shelters going for the same types of grants. So we do get some grants. It's limited, but we do apply when we can qualify. And thankfully, we've been able to create new programs within our shelter to have us be a little bit more available to qualify and apply for different grant opportunities with our new program, the Animal Human Bond Mental Health and Wellbeing Program.
What's that about?
So we know that it's important for an animal to be taken care of by a human. It's good for that animal to get into the home. They get loved, they get fed, they get taken care of. So it's really good for that animal. But we never really focus on how good it is for that human to have that animal in their life. So I look at what I created with this program based on what I had as a child. So my childhood was very distressed. I had a rough childhood. We were not rich by any means. We were extreme poverty. There was abuse. There was prescription pills abuse in my family. So growing up was not a fun household for me. And the consistent good in my life was pets. So no matter how bad life was, I always had a cat or a dog with me. And when I wasn't living at home and I was living at friends' houses, they also always had cats and dogs. So when I started here at the Humane Society, I looked at opportunities to really grow that animal-human bond and showcase what important levels it is for the human to have the animals in their lives. So I created the program.
You think everybody should have a cat or dog in their house?
As much as I would love to say, yes, everyone should have one, sometimes it just doesn't fit for that household, but they are great companions to have.
Well, I agree with you. Growing up as a child is hard enough as it is, but if you're dealing with additional challenges at home, I can't even imagine how few places you can go to feel some companionship and some safety and just the ability to have touch and snuggles and stuff. But having a cat or a dog that's your best pal can make a big difference for a child growing up.
Yeah, huge. I think it was a life changer for me. I'm not sure how I would have turned out as a human being, as an adult, if I didn't have the animals in my life. They were the best friends. They were always there.
Well, I think a lot of people say that. A lot of people talk very lovingly about their pets and they treat them like children. And, they're really, really, really good to them and they spoil them rotten like we do. But at the same time, there's a lot of mistreatment of pets. There's a lot of mistreatment of animals. Cats especially get left behind apartment complexes all the time. Dogs I don't know why dogs get mistreated so much, but it happens. And you can see in a dog when it's been mistreated, it really affects their psyche and their character, but they're still full of love and they want to love. It's such a beautiful thing about dogs, especially, is that they want to love. Cats, they only love you when they're hungry. Okay, it's a different kind of love.
Maybe your cats you've had in your life. I don't know. I've had some really good cats who loved me just because they loved me.
Well, my cats only love me when it's dinner time, but
yeah.
No, I love cats. I've always had cats. We had cats growing up. I've had cats most of my adult life, and I think they're so wonderful to have. I love having dogs too, especially as you have kids and things like that, for protection, for love, for companionship, whatnot. But they're great. I think they're great. So, as the executive director, you've been dealing with a little bit of turmoil last couple of months. You had some previous employees that had some behavior that wasn't great, and a lot of people have heard about that, and it didn't necessarily reflect the best on the organization, even though it wasn't the organization's fault. You've had to lead through that, and how has that gone? How has that process gone for you, managing that little situation and taking the company or the organization beyond that?
I think that's the best thing, is that we've been able to get beyond it, is we've been able to lead by example. We've been able to look at what may or may not have been the good and bad, the things that were wrong. And we've been able to make some really positive changes to our organization, to a lot of what we do as our structure of our organization. So we've taken a look at kind of our model of who we are and what we do for our community. So we've taken that, and then we've been able to kind of stretch it even further and be able to look at what we do as an organization to get it out to our community. So we have had some rough couple months, but we've been able to make some changes and make some adjustments. And we just know that the adjustments that we're making are doing much better for the animals, much better for our organization, and in turn, it's much better for our community to do animal welfare.
Well, good for you, because that's hard.
Yeah.
As the leader of Modern Realty, we've had conflicts with personality. We've had different situations and things occur over the years, over 9 years of being in business. That's going to happen. And as the leader of an organization, it's your responsibility to try to manage through those those challenges, and try to lead your company or your organization through those and make it out the other side. And it's not always easy to do that. So, as the executive director, how do you feel you've done, and how do you feel your organization has rebounded?
I think we've done a fantastic job, but I think it's also because we have some really dedicated staff who they have been there through thick and thin, through many years, to maybe they're just a few months old in our organization. They're hardcore animal lovers. They are hardcore animal welfare people. Yeah. So they want to see it succeed. So I think we've done a great job being able to highlight the good and the positive with the staff that we have. They are fantastic at what they do. And it's hard what they do. They see so much. They see the good, the bad, and it's hard for them because they see what compassion fatigue is. So I'm learning a lot about compassion fatigue as I'm looking into this whole animal-human bond, the mental health and well-being program. Is compassion fatigue is a huge thing, and shelter staff see a lot of it because they see, the cute little puppy that gets brought in and get adopted out, but then they see broken animals. They see animals that were abused, neglected, and then they get lied to. So our staff sees how horrible things can be, but then they can see how good things can be. And I think that has really made an impact on them, and they're just amazing. We have a great group of people now.
Well, you have a fantastic group of people. And I know that after just one recent visit in that place.
Awesome.
It's incredible, the energy, the enthusiasm, the kindness, the gentleness, the compassion, and the concern that they have. And I mean, from every single person we ran into there, we had that same experience. And it was really refreshing to be in an organization like that because, like you said, that is a tough, emotional day-to-day operation to run and sustain. So you have wonderful people there. I mean, you should be really proud of your staff.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We've really been making sure to highlight on their strengths, and their love of animals is their strength. So that makes me very happy to hear. Thank you.
So where is the organization going next?
Where are we going next? We are trying to maintain. We're trying to make the shift with all of the changes that have happened in our organization in the last few months. Adoption rates. Our economy isn't the greatest, and adoption rates are being impacted and affected by that because if you can't fulfill and take care of yourself, taking care of a pet may not be the best option for you. So our adoption rates are being a little impacted right now. So we're hoping to get that more back up in the rate. We eventually would love to see different services within our vet services. We have a house next door to us that we have all of our vet surgeries that take place with the spay and neuter. So we would like to see that expand a little bit. And then long term, with lots of money, we would love to see a new shelter. We're gifted property, and we would like to see us build a new shelter. Hopefully in the next few years, we would like to be able to see that. But we need community support. We need big investors. We need all of that coming in. So eventually, we'd like to have a new shelter.
How much do you need for a new shelter?
Over $7 million.
How much do you have?
We'll just keep that quiet.
So you're not there yet?
No, we're still very much in quiet phase of our capital campaign.
Yeah.
So we're not at the point of going too public with it, but needing to make sure that we do the proper steps to make sure that we have a successful campaign.
Well, raising $7 million is no joke.
No, not at all.
No, who can help with that? The big companies, the Dows, the DuPonts?
All of them.
All the big ones?
All of the big companies to, the community who can write maybe a $10 check. It's literally anyone who can come in and provide any type of funding to us. But then also it comes down to the tangible items too. So when you bring us a bag of, pet food, that helps us then not be able to pay for it ourselves. So any donations coming in goes a long way.
Well, let's talk about little donations. How do you make little donations to the Humane Society? You just mentioned one way you can drop off food. What's another way you can do it?
So we always need pet food. We need pet supplies, so toys, blankets, towels. Those are huge for us. Our animals, we don't want them sitting in cold cages. So we want to make sure that they're taken care of with their, space. Cleaning supplies is a huge thing too. So anything that you clean your house with is everything that we clean our shelter with. So basically anything you do to take care of your home for those needs, we also need with us.
And what are the big fundraisers for the year?
So we have our big gala, which is Ties and Tails, and that is October 25th this year. And then we have a couple summer ones. We've got Pints for Pups over at Midland Brewing Company coming up on July 17th. And then we have a really fun one hosted over at Reader Landscaping in September. I think it's September 26th. They have such a beautiful property out there that they invited us to come out to their property. And it's going to be kind of like a fall-themed party. We're going to bring our animals out there. And just a great way to bring people together, learn a little bit more about our organization. And if they want to give, which we hope they do, that's the opportunity. And then they'll see animals.
What's the best way to find out more about all this stuff? Is there a website?
Yep, you can go to hsomc.org, and that stands for Humane Society of Midland County.
Jesse, thanks for being on the Talk Midland podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.